I'm good, guys. How are we doing?
We're doing well. They got some stuff they still have to clean up. I mean, they really did shoot themselves in the foot in a lot of ways, whether it's guys not going out of bounds when they should have, or a bad interception, or costly penalties and some miscommunications. I know they only scored 16 points, and that's a season low. It felt like there were so many more points to be had in that game on Sunday.
Yeah, anytime you have in the red zone, only came away with one touchdown. I mean, that's going to be a point of regret, and it's been a point of regret for the Bears for a couple weeks now. We saw it really take shape against the New Orleans Saints, and then they talked about it all last week. They need to turn 3 into 7 when they get down there, and they did it one time. And it's penalties when you get down there, and it's not clean football. It's Caleb holding onto the ball too long on third down and taking a sack. All of those things are manifesting themselves into this inefficiency we see this offense work its way into when they get inside the 20, and it's a problem because even with the Baltimore Ravens defense in the state that it is, they're still, statistically not a good unit. Did they get some pieces back last week? Yeah, and they played a lot better than they had in previous weeks, but they had a lot of opportunities, and it felt like they squandered them because of their inability to get out of their own way down there.
The Bears they're taking a chance here on C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's a veteran player. He's been a good player in this league. Most importantly, I think he knows Dennis Allen. He knows Ben Johnson a little too from Detroit, but he knows Dennis Allen, and he's versatile. He's played corner, he's played safety. Mm-hmm. What do you envision sort of the rollout for a player like C.J. Gardner-Johnson with this team right now?
So we will get word hopefully today about Tyreek Stevenson, because Ben Johnson said day-to-day, week-to-week, when he was addressing his injury last week, if it was serious enough, they would have put him on IR already. So that could be good news if he's able to get back with the shoulder today in practice. That solves one need in your secondary. This, to me, is pointing to they want Gardner-Johnson to play in the slot. Okay. They want him, because Nick McLeod just, I think that that experiment has run its course for as long as they could have it. They need to upgrade that position. I don't know why they don't trust Josh Blackwell in this defense. He's a core special teamer. That's great, but he also was your backup nickel for the last couple of years. I guess there's something that Dennis Allen does not see in him that he trusts him out there with. So this to me just points to they're trying to get by with Kyler Gordon on IR until at least week 12, if not longer. I mean, that's the first game he'd be eligible to come back for, would be against the Steelers. That's what they're looking at, and it's not ideal, but Gardner-Johnson does have the experience. He played in Baltimore earlier this year. He can play up in the box. He can play outside corner. He can play slot corner. He can play free safety. All of it. That's good. That is good. I just don't know how much it's going to fix things in the short term, but it is better. Clearly, they think it's better than any option that they currently have on the roster.
Ben Johnson doesn't seem to say things just to stammer, to blow smoke, or to protect players. He seems quite the opposite. So when he tells Jeff Joniak on Monday, Caleb's working his ass off, I mean, that is good to hear. And I don't know how many people still had questions or where they kind of came from over the last year and a half about Caleb's dedication to this or his work ethic. But do you feel like most of those have been answered? And I guess most importantly, do the people inside that building where it matters most, do they believe in his ability to work hard and want to get better?
Yeah, I don't think Ben, you go and listen to how he talks about, where blame lies on offense. He's much more willing to call out receivers for not running the right route, for the protection not being where it needs to be, than faulting the quarterback. And maybe that's just a psyche that you have to have as a head coach, to not throw your QB under the bus, to build up his confidence, because he has been very hard on Caleb, which Caleb asked for. Mm-hmm. He can clearly handle it, but it is noticeable when the head coach is willing to go out on a limb and step in front of it for his QB, because Caleb has been the brunt of a lot of criticism, some rightfully so. I mean, it is interesting. He had his second best total QBR of the season against the Ravens. I know the eye test would tell you differently, but statistically it wasn't as bad as some of his other games. But, you're 8 weeks into this now, going into week 9. So truly at the halfway point of the season, it's an okay time to take stock in what he's done well, where he needs to grow, but also realizing in all of that, he does have a lot of growing that he has to do, because the last 2 games, it's felt like after taking a significant jump, week 1 I'll say through the Washington game in week 6, some of his bad habits, holding on to the ball too long, not reading the whole defense, not reading the whole field, not seeing things he should see. Some of those felt like they crept back in the last 2 weeks. And that's one thing I think is a fair criticism of the quarterback, that the head coach clearly is trying to, help him out in those circumstances. But honestly, at some point, it's sink or swim for Caleb in those moments. And I think, everybody's cognizant of that in this building, about how much work he's putting in, but also that there's still a lot of things he needs to do to be a better quarterback.
DeAndre Swift is dealing with this groin injury. He had the fewest number of touches he's had in a game this year, and I thought in pass pro, which we've been singing his praises a lot throughout the course of the season, I thought it looked bad, and for whatever that's worth. It looked like it didn't look like it did earlier in the year. Is he battling through something more serious than we think? Where is he health-wise?
So he was telling me last week this is about maintenance with his body, with this groin injury. It's why I wouldn't be surprised if he's DNP today, because that's what the trend was the last 2 weeks against the Saints. Wednesday, no practice. Last week, Wednesday, no practice. And then he ends up being questionable, and he's good to go for the game. He's 26. He's not a young rookie. Right. Like, his body's been through this before. They're going to give him a longer leash. But, I also, last week, there was that period in the second half where early on, it's like, where's DeAndre Swift? And we said the same thing. I think it's kind of their game plan. There was the same thing against Washington when he came out, like when Monungai started out getting the carries in the second half and Swift was on the bench. That could be a byproduct of just trying to spell him for a little bit and keep him fresh. But I don't think they ran the ball particularly well, handled pass protection particularly well with him, with Monungai, with anybody.
Yeah.
Like, they just... the Ravens, getting Roquan Smith back was a big deal for them. Yeah. And it ended up working in their favor to, take a run game that had been so effective for 2 weeks and kind of get it off balance.
Kind of feel like you got to go to Cincinnati and score, don't you, against that defense?
Yeah. 407 yards a game.
I know.
That's what they're given. It's a prime opportunity. Trey Hendrickson is hurt. There is no pass rush without Trey Hendrickson up there. This is a good opportunity. And I know kind of what the line is right now is affected by injuries. We should find out a little bit more about Joe Flacco today and how much he was able to practice when they hit the field. But this should not be, even though they're going on the road, this should not be a situation where Chicago is not considered the favorite in this game, because I understand what happened with the Jets last weekend, but this is still a team that has a banged up offensive line, an offensive line that doesn't protect very well. And what you saw against the Steelers a couple weeks ago, I think, is more of an aberration than what's going to become the norm here with Joe Flacco at quarterback. Like, this offense in Chicago, outside of, Cole Kmet being injured last week, everybody else is healthy. Mm-hmm. Like, there is no excuse for this offense to not go in there and have the clear edge over a defense that's just not very good and hasn't been able to figure it out from a year ago. Like, that's how I view it. Like, I know that they got dog walked in Baltimore against a backup quarterback, but that should not at all be the case here when you go to Cincinnati in Week 9.
Trade deadline next week. The Bears buyers, sellers, are they standing pat?
So if you would have asked me about this before Braxton Jones got hurt, I would have said that he's probably among the candidates that make sense. He'd be somebody, considering he lost his job, and they don't necessarily view him as, I don't know, he's a swing tackle, that's great, but if they felt like they could get some draft capital for him because they're not going to take him, keep him after this year, I would say him. But it's kind of hard to sell a guy who's on IR and lost his job, like the double whammy there. I don't know. I've heard, some people have floated the idea of, what about DJ Moore? Is he odd man out? Is this the right time because his cap hits $24 million the next couple of years? I don't see it, but if you're talking about guys who would make sense just based on the numbers game, and it's not like DJ's production has, why it's been lower is any fault of his own. Yeah. There's a lot of weapons in this offense, but I can't see that one coming to fruition. I really can't. I think they stand pat just like they did last year. I do not think that they are buyers here at the deadline either, because you're thinking about what their cap situation is now and mortgaging the future. They've done that twice now at trade deadlines. Once it worked out, so to speak, with Montez Sweat, and once it blew up badly. I don't see them making a big swing like that again.
I'm with you on this, Courtney. Is there any possibility, and this is where you really got to be careful, like letting one data point kind of dictates you. Is there any possibility, like, okay, they win, they go to 5-3? Like, does that change the calculus at all? I don't think it should. I'm totally with you. But is anything like outcome based about next week, depending on what happens on Sunday?
Well, where would they upgrade? So, like, let's go through the positions. They're happy with their running backs. They've told us that, and we saw what it looks like when it works. So I think they're not trading for a running back. Offensive line for right now, they're good with that. Pass rush, who are you going out and getting? Because you're going to be spending $25+ million for any premier pass rusher that you're trading for, i.e. Myles Garrett, because we know he's not happy in Cleveland. I don't see how financially that's the right move right now for this team, given what their needs are in the offseason, given what free agency is going to look like. I just don't think that that's realistic. And, if this DJ Gardner-Johnson thing is a good stopgap for now, you're probably not going out and getting another corner. And it feels like the other ones, Greg Newsome's already been on the move. Like, there's been a couple other teams that have moved, and the guy yesterday with Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that they're. I think they'd be okay moving forward with the roster as is if they're 5-3 and not getting, not knee-jerk reactioning to what could happen.
Yeah. Safety Kyle Duggar got moved yesterday, and Roger McCreary got moved as well. So, that market seems like it's kind of thinning out now as you get to this point. All right, anything else we should know for Cincinnati?
I think that the pass rush, we've talked about this, and Austin Booker did get activated yesterday. They moved Shamar Turner to injured reserve. You would imagine that if he's healthy and he can play, I know it took them a while to get to this point, you can't mess around with it. You've got to make him a part of the rotation right away, because for the steps that they took against New Orleans and how much better that looked, it took a major step back last week, letting Tyler Huntley control the game, run all over them. They didn't contain him. I understand they had to throw their rush plan away for Lamar Jackson on Saturday and create a new one. But this, I think, is a pretty big week for this pass rush, because it's a banged up, not very good offensive line, a 40-year-old quarterback back there, assuming Joe Flacco plays. And if not, it's Jake Browning. Like, this is a good week for the guys who are making a lot of money, Odangbo, Sweat, to go earn it, because I feel like a broken record. We haven't seen it on a consistent basis, and it's constantly an issue we talk about with this defense.
Yeah, you're right. All right, good stuff, Courtney. Thank you. Have a good week.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you next
There's
week.
Courtney Cronin, brought to you by Costa Ivoni on the Yuengling Guest Hotline. Thoughts on the Bears this week, the trade deadline stuff? I think Courtney summed that up quite well. It was kind of what I was hinting at earlier when we talked about it. I agree with that, and I think that's the approach you got to take this time around. Slow play it out a little bit. Are they a playoff team? They might be. I think they're a fringy playoff team. I think Jurko's said that right. Like, Ben Johnson probably looks at him and go, we could maybe get to 10 and be a fringy playoff team. Are they a Super Bowl team? I don't think they're close, and there's probably nothing in the trade market right now that's going to change.
If 10 gets you in, I think there's a chance to get to 10. There's a chance.
You got to clean up some of the mistakes.
9-8 doesn't do it. I don't think 9-8 does it. Not in the NFC.
I don't even, like, a 9-8 season I wouldn't be unhappy with either. I really wouldn't be. Because I think you're starting to see the signs of improvement. Even within Caleb, you're seeing it. And maybe we're a little critical too much, week to week sometimes. It's the nature of the beast. We want these teams. You want your team to do well. There's a lot of eyeballs on the quarterback. But I think we've done a fairly good job of, like, looking big picture, saying this is growth and development phase still. Not everybody comes in and is in Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it just did, or Dan Marino, or Jaden Daniels even last year. Like, it doesn't happen a lot. I guess sometimes it looks or feels worse when, like, your team picked other quarterbacks. But it's not always meteoric like that. There is growth. There's development that has to happen. Albert Breer said something interesting yesterday with Cap and Hood about Caleb and, like, maybe where the expectations were at the start of last year. I'll play that coming up next. And then Ben Solak, who's a very sharp football mind, who I like very much, used to write at The Ringer, writes at The Athletic now. He wrote something about Caleb and kind of told Bears fans, calm down, it's okay. And I think we've taken that approach mostly. Are there times we look at it and go, man, Caleb, you got to be better? Yeah. I thought he was lousy in the Saints game. I thought he got better last week, even though they lost and they only scored 16 points. And rewatching the game, there's some stuff that you go, man, he really looks special at times. He really does. There are throws he made last week where you go, it's good stuff. It's on time. It's special. It's like, and there are other times where you scratch your head a little. I get that's a young quarterback, I think. So I think we've taken the right approach mostly about like what we expect. But we can continue to have that conversation, and I'll read you some of the stuff Solak wrote, and we'll play what Brewer said to Cap and Hoodie yesterday.